Hi, guys. Welcome. I am so excited to be here today, and I have Dylan Smith here with me. He is in the business world, but he is also in the process of starting his own business to raise awareness about dyslexia. And we have been comparing stories and interest, and I can't wait for you to dive in and get to know him better and myself better and more information about dyslexia and raising awareness to help teachers know more information about dyslexia because it is very common with more than likely 1 in every 5 students is dyslexic. That means you have at least 1, if not 2 dyslexic students in every single class every year. And the training for dyslexia is coming out, but we want to raise more awareness so more teachers get the training they need to be able to support dyslexics, not only dyslexics, but all abilities, as other people call it, disabilities, but abilities, because the world is changing and we are embracing how dyslexics and everybody else thinks. And with this new computer age world, dyslexics are going to be in the forefront of the technology and taking over. So we need to make sure that we are training our teachers the way they need. So welcome, Dylan. I'm so glad
Thank you.
you're here.
Me too.
So do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm Dylan Smith, and I'm 20 years old. I do work in tech, and I was diagnosed in 10th grade, which puts me at 16 years old. And I had quite a humbling experience, and I did use orton-gillingham.
Great. I saw an interview with you and you said that you were able to catch up or start to catch up within 3 months. And I wanted to check and see that because over here, I also used an orton-gillingham program, which was alphabetic phonics, and I've been trained in Wilson. And that is the one research-based intervention strategy that I've seen work for dyslexics. And when I heard about your story and heard that you were able to make leaps and bounds so quickly, I was just like, that's got to be an orton-gillingham program. And so I'm so glad that you were able to share the fact that that was able to help you at an older age, because I know for me, I used it at a younger age.
It
So
was a humbling experience for sure, because at 16 years old, my friends in the summertime, riding jet skis and trying things and hanging with girls, and I'm at a tutor drawing ABCs in sand and shaving cream.
I totally understand because I had to go before school. So I had to get up before all of my classmates and I would go to tutoring like you and do the shaving cream and the letters for an hour before school. Then my parents would pick me up, drive me to school, and then I would go to school all day. So by the time I got home, time for homework, I was exhausted because I had started my day an hour before everybody else. So
Yeah.
I understand that with dyslexia, and one of the advantages that we have is we have to work so much harder. Our persistence shows up here as an advantage in that we actually become valuable employees because of what we've learned and to overcome our dyslexia in school. We learn all these things to help us in the business world.
Also, to trust the process is one of the biggest ones that I had to suck down. Trust the process, stay, watch, write it in the sand, write it in the air, say it in while I'm writing it. And simple words: goat, hey, they, the.
Yeah, all those sight words. Because we
Yeah,
just,
but my biggest issue is the connotation between the two words is dumb and dyslexic. I understand they both start with D's, but they don't mean the same thing.
absolutely. They don't mean the same thing. And in fact, most of the time, dyslexics have either average intelligence or above average intelligence. And research lately has shown that IQ and dyslexia are not related at all.
Yeah, and with dyslexia, we have the advantage of thinking outside the box all the time because we have to, just to learn like simple things in school and stuff like that. So when we do get out and we do get in the workplace, I got to notice firsthand, like you said, we work really hard at what we do just to get through and by, academically speaking. So when we work hard and we learn and we all that stuff, you get to put that in the workforce and you fly.
Absolutely.
You fly in the workforce.
Yes. Awesome. Yeah. And I mean, when I was in the workforce in the business, I was able to actually hide my dyslexia. Looking back on that, that was a horrible idea, but I was able to hide it. And how do you deal with your dyslexia in the business world?
Well, luckily, I'm very motivated human, so I learned how to work hard, stay motivated, and thinking outside the box and doing it quick. So being in tech and business, it helps because I'm very hardworking. I'm very motivated. I'm there early. I work hard. I work straight through, and I'm thinking outside the box the entire time, and I'm pressing important people in the business world. And then when I'm done, I hit them with, oh, I have this following on social media, and I get them to follow as well and support it. And then that puts them in a, oh, I didn't realize this is what dyslexia is about. I didn't understand what people are going through. And now that opened their eyes, and then they share that with their family. It's kind of a nice chain that I'm trying to build here.
Absolutely. I love the fact that you are introducing people in the business world to what dyslexia is, and you are showing them what it is in a positive light instead of such the negative connotation it has with most people because they don't understand what's going on. All they understand is that it's hard to read, write, and spell, but they don't understand all the other things that happen with dyslexia.
Yeah, and there's a big thing with social standings in school. Like high school is tough. Same with middle school. It's all about social standings and what your friends think and what you wear because you wear it because you think your friends think it's cool and all that kind of stuff. And you play an instrument, you play a sport because your friends think it's cool. But there's also kids who judge and they call us dumb because I was in small classes. I don't know about you, but I was in classes with not just dyslexic, but kids who weren't as fortunate as kids who don't have disabilities and were in the big classes. So big class kids, honor student kids were putting us in the category of dumb, and it was quite frustrating. But I'm glad that I've turned it around and I've now impressed those kids.
Congratulations on that. Yes, I understand that. And then also going back to teach in the high school setting where I was the life skills teacher. So I was the teacher and getting to watch how all the other kids would get to change classes, and my kids stayed in my room all day. And in fact, at one point, we ended up doing what we call reverse inclusion. And so we actually found a group of students like yourself that were willing to come in and be role models in my classroom. And it was such a humbling experience getting to do that and help the students because everybody got to learn something. And so they would come in and they would get to like do board games and draw and color and just have fun and get to interact and get to know the students. And we only got to do it a handful of times, but I loved the fact that I was able to work with a gen ed teacher and that we were able to create this experience because the kids ended up learning a lot and got to see what all these other kids were actually capable of instead of just thinking, okay, this is what they can't do, but let's turn it and look at what they can do.
Yeah, I love that idea of it's not what we can't do, it is what we can, what we're capable of. And that idea, that's amazing because what you guys are doing there was killing ignorance.
Mhm.
And that's great. And I'm sure that made a lot of connections and friendships through that experience too, where
Yeah.
each other had things to give and they were impressing each other at the same time, which one could have been a football athlete, all-star
Mhm.
jock, and one could have been a quiet kid, but they have things that are impressing each other.
Yes. Um,
Yeah, I love that.
yeah, so we would bring them in. I enjoyed it, but then I decided that I wasn't cut out to be a high school teacher. I wanted to be with the little kids and do the alphabetic phonics or the Wilson, and so I switched over to elementary. But um, the school I went to, I don't know if you've ever heard IB, so intellectual. it's a baccalaureate. It's a special program where it's more of an inclusion. And so you get to kind of regulate your own thinking. And so it almost becomes project based. So it became a lot easier for the students because it, once they were finished with their learning cycle, they didn't have to just do a test or do a paper pencil thing. They could actually create a project the way they needed to, which embraced dyslexia because some of my students would make videos to show what they learned, or they would, they did all types of stuff. And I loved the fact that the teachers all embraced it and helped them. And it was just like, okay, I know this is hard for you. Let's not do the paper, but can you show me what you learned this way? And helped them figure out what their strengths were.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun. And so I loved seeing that as a teacher, but I know that not all schools are like that. And so we need to break that down and help other teachers, especially teachers that are just coming out of college that have not been trained in any type of special education or any type of, well, you're going to have a diverse population in your classroom and this is what's going to be there and this is how you should prepare for it. That training is just not there yet in the universities.
And if it was, I don't think we'd have the segregation of small classrooms. And I think that help a lot. Social standing, people be more open-minded and
Mhm.
give kids who they think are dumb more of a chance to hang out and get to know them. And then, like you said, it impresses everybody.
Exactly. Have you heard of the term neurodiversity?
I've not.
Okay, so neurodiversity was coined, I think, in like 1989 by somebody that was working with somebody with autism. And so basically exactly what you're saying. And so it has really spread. And so dyslexics is the largest part of neurodiversity or a neurovistic mind. And it's basically instead of just saying we have a normal brain and then other people, we're just saying that our brains function differently and changing everybody's mindset on embracing it. And so, and it kind of is pushing towards more of a project-based learning.
Yep.
So what I was talking about, and it has really helped change a lot of. It's slowly changing everybody's mindset. And what's really cool is some big companies like Amazon and other companies are catching on to the fact that when they hire somebody with a neurodiversic mind, so you're talking somebody with autism, dyslexia, ADHD, all of these, because our brains function differently, that is
Yep.
actually putting the companies at an advantage because we can see things differently and we can go through and do like process improvement and improve the company. And so some big companies, and I know Amazon's one of them, is actually looking to recruit neurodiversity. And so again, we are slowly getting there, but we're not quite all the way there.
Yeah, and it's the capability of being able to be thinking outside the box and working hard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I like all what you're saying and what that I'm so excited about the how you brought the small class and they had kids come in that I didn't even know about that. And I'm glad that happened. I wish that happened more. And
Mhm.
I wish that the word disability and dyslexic wasn't such a negative connotation. And your message of making people know what we are capable of and what we can do is something that we should be focusing on.
Mhm.
And that it is unfortunate, but a lot of things today is the negative. Everybody focuses on the negative. It's kind of like when a car accident happens on the highway and everybody slows down to look at it.
Mhm.
I wish that people would either stop, make sure the person's okay, or drive through seeing that they have help.
Yeah, I know I'm guilty of stopping and looking, and I'm like,
Yeah.
look, let them be busy. I mean, focus. Let's
Yeah.
get all the traffic behind us because I've been sitting here for 30 minutes, but gotta look. No, I totally get it. And I mean, we are getting there. And I think it is just going to take more dyslexics stepping up and being like, look at everything I've done. look at how we've changed the world, and let's quit looking at what we can't do, because the world has changed and we have assistive technology to help us fix that and make it easier for us to learn and focus on what we can do. And I know that growing up, my mom knew what dyslexic advantages were, but she forgot to share those with me. And I really didn't like disclosing that I was a dyslexic, but that was because all I knew was what I couldn't do. I didn't
Yeah.
know that I was capable of all these other things. And since I've learned that dyslexia has all these advantages, my mind shift has changed, and I've become one of the biggest advocates I can be, raising awareness through like the Instagram and my YouTube channel, just to help other people and help parents and just be like, it's okay, let's cut yourself some slack and let's make this work.
Yeah, and I agree with it 100%. And I actually was the kid who thought he was stupid because he heard it so much. And then after going through the Orton-Gillingham project, sophomore year coming back, I was like, no, I'm not stupid. Don't call me that. Like, this is what I'm capable of. I've learned this. I threw my summer away. I did this. I've accomplished this, and this is where I'm going. I'm not stupid because I get a 50 on the test.
Exactly. And I mean, I think it's also wrapping our heads around the fact that tests just do not show our abilities or anything. It's this old fashioned way of doing things, but it definitely doesn't show what we learn. Because I remember in grad school, I only had one test the entire time. The rest of the time was like papers, which I had editors, but I had one, my last semester, I had one test. And I studied and I studied and I studied and I knew the material.
Yeah.
But because it was multiple choice, I could not figure out which one it was. It was like A, B, or whatever. And I got that back and it was a C. And I was devastated. And I was so, and this was a special education class,
Oh,
which is even worse. Sorry. I mean, we're writing and we're doing like research based thesis about special education, and she's up here talking and she gives a test. And it was just like, you're the only professor that gave a test. We had one professor in the beginning give us quizzes, but they didn't count that much. But she had this huge test that counted so much. And it was so devastating because I thought I did really well. And to get it back,
yeah.
and it's this awful grade. And it was, and my best friend was also a dyslexic at the time. She took the test too, and it was the same thing. Like, it just did not show all the work we put into the class. And in turn, it ended up ruining my GPA. I was so upset because I was set to have a 4.0,
Oh,
and
oh,
it it got rid of it. And I was just like, you got to be kidding. And she's like, and I went to her and I was like, what can I do? And she goes, you're just going to have to nail your paper. You're going to have to get 100 on your paper to pull this class. And I was like, are you kidding me? If I had known, I wouldn't have registered for her class. I would have taken a different class. But I was
yeah.
just, I mean, the just tests just do not show what we know, especially like college entrance exams. No.
I mean, the thing I can relate to is you have, what is a driver test? It's 6 minutes to evaluate your ability to drive. And then you end up driving to work and almost die how many times, or crash your car because there's some crazy people on the road who probably shouldn't be.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes me laugh because I have two fun dyslexic stories with the driving test. Um, and so I went when I was 15 to take my written driving test so I could get my permit.
Yep.
And they explained, my mom went with me and explained that I was a dyslexic. And they were like, well, that's wonderful. But the machine that reads the test to students that need that is broken. So either you can wait and come back, or you can have at the test, the computer test, and see how you do.
Yeah.
Take your pick. And I was like, And my mom's like, just take the computer test. If you don't pass it, we'll come back tomorrow. The machine will be fixed. It'll be fine. I got one question wrong. I took so much time. I literally read it and then I read it again and then just like answered the questions. And then I was so nervous about getting my driver's license. I misspelled my name when I was like,
Wow.
right. Mhm. Yep.
I actually failed my permit test the first time. Because yeah, but for me, when there's a lot of stuff on the screen, or like my most overwhelming thing ever was in science class or social studies. You'd open the textbook, a bunch of tiny writing, I'd stare at it, and then sentences would start floating across each other, and then I'd get dizzy and I couldn't look at it anymore. And now I'm discouraged. I want to stare out the window for the rest of the class.
Yeah. I mean, I still remember, I mean, I'm a little bit older than you are, but having like working with a lack of assistive technology because computers weren't as big back then. So my teachers would, or my parents would have to read the text and then I would have to listen to it on tape recorder. And in the science class, this teacher literally had it to where it was like you were going to college because she didn't think what they did in high school was equivalent to what they did in college. So she made it like a college based course with the lectures. You read the book. She didn't cover anything in the book, but that was part of the test material. And then the other test material was what she talked about. And her tests were so hard. And she was so confused because my dad had a conference with her, took a tape recorder with the tape and headphones and gave it to her. And she called me over and she goes, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, I had a meeting with your dad, but I'm so confused. And she goes, and I said, all you have to do is read the test questions into the recorder. That's it. She goes, oh. She goes, I'm not supposed to give you like anything else. I was like, no, all you have to do is read the test questions. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all I need to make it fair for this. And then it was just like, oh, okay. But at first she was just like, you want me to give you the answer? What is this? And I was like, no, you're just to read the questions.
Yeah.
Just read the questions. And that makes it fair to where I can hear it and figure it out.
For me, it was tough in social studies class when he'd be talking, writing stuff on the board, and then I was supposed to write and follow and understand and keep what he was saying. So by the end of the class, I'd have 2, 3, 4 big name words, like
Mhm.
maybe Washington, D.C., or a president's name or a war. And then I would just be trying to sucking it in, and then he'd grade our notes if we were following along, right? So I'm supposed to be taking the notes, listening to him, and understand what he's saying and write absolutely everything down so I can refer back to it. And I couldn't refer back to it because I was trying to understand what he's saying. And then, yeah, it was tough.
I've never heard that. Teachers actually do that?
Yeah, they did it for me because he wanted to make sure everybody's paying attention. And I was paying attention as much as I could and follow as much as I could.
That's awful. I've never heard that.
Yeah. So kids were more like, so what would happen is kids would focus on the notes so much, they'd write it down, not know what they're writing down. And then they'd grade the notes, like, okay, I'm done. And then not study it and fail the test.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because I know in college, what I learned is I would do better if I could get the PowerPoint presentation and print them out like in presentation mode and then just highlight what the teacher talked about. So I didn't have to
Yeah.
worry about writing anything down. I didn't have to worry about spelling. I just highlighted. And that ended up being the easiest note taking method I had. Um, but I also had accommodations in college, so I had a note taker. So I had somebody in the classroom that was in the class taking notes, and then they were giving me their notes after class, making
So that
photocopies.
eventually happened to me. We negotiated and they were typing it out. So there was no like, oh, I can't read your writing. It was like they're going to type it out and then I can just follow along and soak in as much as I can and then refer to it. Or then my mom would read them to me when we'd study at home.
Yeah, my parents had to help me a lot. I mean,
Yes, mine too.
it's just that's how it was. And I mean, I'm forever grateful for all of the stuff they did. They helped. Did you ever have problems with like executive functioning, like time management, keeping organized, things like that?
I'm a very organized person. I like being everywhere 15 minutes early. But with my mom and homework and stuff, we would do what's called a commercial game. So we would all watch a TV show. And when a commercial came on, it was homework time. And we do the homework until the commercial was off. And then we watched the show. So it wasn't as straining for me to be like, oh, I'm going to school all day and now I'm going home and doing the homework straight on. So it's like, oh, let's watch a show. Tell me how your day is. Then it's like, bam, commercial, which is what, 3 minutes, homework for the 3 minutes. So it was like a game, made put a little fun into it. She always figured out ways to make it not as miserable.
I like that. That's a great
Yeah.
idea. I mean, because I know for me, it was always go to school or go to tutoring, go to school, and then go home and spend the rest of the night doing homework. And so one of my biggest messages to parents is set a timer or do like the game like you're talking about. It's not worth it. It's really honestly not worth the time to spend your entire evening doing homework or your entire life. It's not worth it. I mean,
No.
GPA is one thing. You really, unless you're going to be a teacher, it really doesn't matter once you graduate. Nobody looks at it, nobody asks about it. I mean, in school, they make it out to be the world's biggest thing ever. Unless you're being a valedictorian, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I've learned and like to share with other people. It's just, it's not worth it. And make it fun. Praise students and praise kids for little wins, celebrate those because it just helps boost their confidence.
Yep. And motivate them. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Do you have anything else you want to add?
Just ultimately, I don't want anybody to get discouraged. The experience can be very discouraging at any moment, at the any time. Like social studies, studying, homework, and staying alive and watching and being in class. And that's a lot for anybody, but a dyslexic who can't really take it all in. Just know that trust the process. I couldn't stress that enough, but trust the process. It was tough, but I trusted it. And I'm forever appreciative of the experience, and you'll learn to outwork, think outside of the box, and you'll be worth a lot in the corporate world if you end up going corporate, because the hard work and thinking out of the box is what you can't buy.
Absolutely. And if you do disclose that you're a dyslexic and people are starting to think outside the box and realize it, they realize what a dedicated, hardworking individual you will be.
Yeah.
They get there because dyslexics are the hardest working, empathetic, loyal people I've ever met. Like every single dyslexic friend I have is always my best friend because we can relate so well to each other. And it really is a world of its own. And since I've started this page, I've really enjoyed meeting dyslexics from all over the world. And because when I was growing up, I honestly felt like I was on an island by myself because I didn't know any other dyslexics
Yep.
until I went to college and I met one. And it was just like, wait, you struggled like I did? Wait, what? There's actually
Yeah.
somebody else like me. And so I don't want, and that's, and I don't want other people to think that they're on an island by themselves because it's very common.
Yes. And we're not dumb. So when people call you dumb, just kind of brush it off.
Yeah. I mean, and some of the things some people don't believe, but there's also the where they're gifted and talented, but they're also dyslexic at the same time. And sometimes their dyslexia is hidden by the fact that they're so gifted and talented. So there's the double exceptional out there also. So, I mean, we are very, very brilliant. And just to research some of the most famous dyslexics out there, they've changed the world for us. And
Yeah.
the world is the way it is today because of dyslexics.
Yes. Agreed. I appreciate you taking the time.
No problem. Thank you. I look forward to having another chat in the future.
Of course. Me too.
Awesome. I will see you later.
Yep. Sounds good.